Code everything.
Hey guys, we talked with Per Harold Borgen today, who is a a front-end developer at Scrimba.com, which is their new startup, where it's basically a web screen recording that's interactive that you can pause, change the code. Something that I do in my Patreon as a bonus to those who support me, and really cool thing. We also talked about how he got started, which was at a completely free open boot camp where you actually are taught among each other through your peers. There aren't actually any teachers, and you just kind of volunteer at the end or are encouraged to. We talked about imposter syndrome, which was really deep and really something that I think a lot of junior devs, when they get their foot in the door for the very first time, really struggle with. I kind of had that going into job and overcame it relatively quickly. So something I can kind of relate to. We talk about coding. We talk about all the great things, and it was a really fun interview. Really positive guy, and one of the things I really like about interviewing people are people with good energy. Not to sound so mojo wojo sort of thing, but it's a great interview, great guy, and I wish Scrimba.com the best of luck. Go ahead and enjoy this video. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, I just want to show you Scrimba because we talk about it quite a bit in the intro. It's their project that they're working on where basically you can record a video and then you can go and enter the code. And I'll just show you real quick. It'll make a little bit more sense. So let's say we're going to record our video real quick, and we'll just call this demo. And this is going to be on JavaScript. So they have 4 languages right now. They're going to expand it to multiple JavaScript frameworks. So we're going to do a little Illuminati right now, a video within a video. So we'll go ahead and test this, and we'll say, let's go ahead and confirm. We want it to be my Yeti microphone. There we go. And so now we're testing this, and we can go ahead and say var x equals 5, var y equals 5, or we'll say 6, and then console.log x plus y. This is just a simple example. It can get much more advanced than this, plus y, and let's go ahead and stop the video. We can say I'm finished, and obviously when we run the code, you'll see right here, it's at 11, I'm finished. Let's you have the option of making it public, private, or hidden. So what actually happens here is we just recorded an interactive 40 or 24-second clip. So as we play it, you'll hear me. But let's say you want to pause and you want to check it and say, oh, hello, Dylan. You now have that option. You can also fork out of here. So it's really interactive. You'll see the console output right here. And this works with, you can have multiple files as well, HTML, CSS. It doesn't have to just be JavaScript. So you can actually build your whole projects out. And this is one of my Patreon perks as well. At a certain level, I do all the algorithms, again, where you can interact with it. Let's go ahead and resume the playback. And you can see we jump down to here. And say we're like, oh, well, I don't really understand what the hell is Dylan's talking about. What's that mean? How did he get 11? Oh, well, we'll do y plus x, because that's what it was. But I actually want to see what 5 plus 5 is. We can go and run it, and you'll get interactive examples like that. But that's Scrimba. Let's go ahead and jump on into the interview. Nice.
Okay.
So today I wanted to kind of talk about Scrimba in general and about kind of how you got started, what you're doing in the future, skill set that you built it with, and just anything else that you think you could kind of elaborate on that would be beneficial for people.
Okay.
We'll answer that at the end. But yeah, would you kind of mind introducing yourself about your experience and anything related like that?
Yeah, so my name is Per. I'm one of the co-founders behind Scrimba, which is a audiovisual tool for conveying concepts about programming and coding. And I'm a developer myself, a front-end developer, though I haven't been a developer for very long. I did a startup before this, where we made kids apps, and there I was on the non-technical side doing the business stuff. And then I got more and more into coding, or more and more interested into learning how to actually building the stuff as well. So in like late or early 2015, I joined a coding bootcamp in London. It's actually a free peer-to-peer based coding bootcamp where I learned JavaScript and front-end development. Then got back to Norway, which is where I'm based. Worked as a front-end developer for a year, or a little over a year, and then I joined Scrimba.
Yes.
That's where I'm now.
What was the coding bootcamp that you went to?
It's called Founders and Coders. And it's really cool because it's totally free and all peer-to-peer based. So there's like no paid teachers there working full time to like just get you to or like as a teacher. But you all work together, and people from previous cohorts join in and help the new cohorts. And it's all about learning something and then explaining that and learning that to the others. It's a really awesome concept.
So you don't pay for it at all? There's no how do they make their money?
So they make so at the end you're like encouraged to become a part of the community after you've been there, and then you'd work. They take on consulting work and take a cut of that consulting work. That's one of the models they've tried out. I'm not completely sure exactly how they do it right now, but that's what they did when I was there. So we did some. You actually get some paid when you're there at the end. They give some of that back to the school, and I think they've also done some recruiting now for various companies in getting a recruitment fee or something, in addition to grants.
Nice. Now, how long is that boot camp process traditionally?
So I was there for about 16 weeks, I think. If had I lived in London, I would have been a part of it much longer. But I think the core program now is 12 weeks, whereas it was 2 times 8 weeks when I was there in 2015. And everybody to check that out. It's just a fantastic concept.
So I really like Scrimba, and I plan on using it, and we've talked about this.
Yep.
How did the topic, like, how did it come to fruition? Like, how did this idea come? Because it's a great idea and something that I'm surprised doesn't exist, or like I even never thought like, oh man, this would be great if it occurred. How did the birth of Scrimba, if you will, start?
Yeah. So I mean, the best person to ask there is my co-founder Sindra, who so you should have him on the show sometime as well.
Okay.
Because he's a fantastic developer, and it was he who got the idea for this, because he had been developing a programming language for quite a few years, and then he open sourced it and wanted to share it with others and create documentation. And well, he's not a big fan of writing documentation. He started creating some tutorials, and he just realized what a hassle, what a horrible experience it is to actually try to convey something through the video format. At least if you're not used to doing that. Because you have to download a screencasting tool, you have to set up your system, you have to start coding. If you want it polished, you have to, if you do a mistake, start over again, or go into iMovie and stitch the clips together, and then you upload it to YouTube, and then YouTube encodes it, and suddenly we spent like an hour and a half trying to explain a short concept, which maybe takes you 5 minutes to explain to somebody. And once you've done that, all the semantics of the code and all the information is gone. It's just dead pixels. So he started with this idea of creating a format, the Scrimba format, which basically enables you to head over to our site, just start coding and talking as you would explain to someone in the same room as you. And then just hit publish, and it's already live, and people can then view it and then pause it and play around with the example themselves, and you keep all the semantics. And it's it's just so many ways. It's just a better way than video, which we think, at least. So
if I remember correctly, I know you guys are still in beta now. You have functionality for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you were going to add some libraries or frameworks. What any ETA on that, and what would they be?
Yes, we're actually that feature is now in our local environment, and it'll be published or deployed this upcoming week.
Nice.
Where you can add like scripts to your Scrimba. So you can add like Vue.js and Dash and jQuery and whatever you want.
Oh, cool. So it'll work with basically any JavaScript framework out there.
Yeah, we might have to do some customization to get React working with JSX and stuff. But basically that's the goal.
Sweet. I mean that to me is super valuable. And sweet. I mean that to me is super valuable. And like the first thing that came to mind, I know this is like, if even it's something that would happen, but it's way down the road. But have you ever thought about getting Scrimba up and running and then trying to maybe sell the technology to something like Udacity or Udemy? Because they have their own code environments, and I've always wanted to make a course, but your Scrimba is just so much more valuable the way it is than just a regular video. Has that thought ever occurred?
Yeah, we're in the on the business side of things of Scrimba. We're actually at the very start and talking to actually a couple of online code courses and companies which do degrees of teaching people code online. Like there's like the Udacity type companies, and there's also companies that want to do internal training. And so we're definitely thinking about how we can use technology to in other ways, not just having the open platform, but monetizing it on another way.
Yeah.
So, but we haven't really decided.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, when you're still in beta, you can't exactly make all these decisions quite yet. I know I've talked to you briefly about monetization because I've wanted to create content, and the only thing really is stopping me is monetization, right? So it's like my subscribers are on YouTube. How do I get them to this other site without losing money? And that's why I kind of have worked it into my Patreon page as well. But I am a huge fan. I love everything about it. So I think it's going to really change the coding tutorial / coding and video education platform altogether. Because the number one thing I get are people struggling debugging code, and even though they're watching a video. But if they can pause that video and they can see the code themselves and they can interact with it, not only will they have a better understanding, but they'll also be less frustrated and stop hating on my video so much. Is more importantly.
That's exactly our thought. So you get a lot of comments from people who like ask you, how did this work, or like ask you specific stuff in relation to the tutorials you make. Sometimes,
yeah, I get a lot of people who struggle through and they think their syntax is right, and so 9 times out of 10 they've messed up. 1 time out of 10 it's me. Like that's probably pretty accurate.
Okay, yeah.
But 9 times out of 10 there's some syntax error or something else. But if they have a video where they can pause, they can look at it, they can interact with it, they're gonna absorb it much better than just watching a video. But they're also going to kind of be able to find their error, I think, a little bit better. So I mean I think it's great, man. I really wish Scrimba and you guys the best. I think it's really gonna I think it's gonna be very well received, and we're gonna see it at a lot of places pretty soon.
Thanks. We hope that. And I mean, getting you to use it, people like you to use it, is really important for us. Like because we need to attract people that can create high quality content, or if not, then it's not worth having this platform, you know. So we're gonna have to work on tailoring it towards your needs and other YouTube teachers' needs. So if you have any, I know we're going to talk afterwards about this, but and if anybody out there trying the Scrimba platform tries it and got any feedback or thoughts on things that irritated you, or requests for features or whatever, just contact us.
Now are they able to create their own accounts now? Because I thought maybe you were in a closed beta for a while.
It is. You are able to create your own account now. We haven't opened it up fully. It still says we're in a closed beta, but you can create your own account. So if you're really interested, you can just head over to the site and just click request access. Or if you're watching a Scrimba, you see that login via GitHub button up in the corner. Then you actually get to create an account and can play around with it. But yeah, it's still fairly closed since we haven't opened the front page and stuff.
I have a dream that all this awful documentation in the world will have Scrimba videos inserted into it. So like that is my dream, that the documentation for libraries will not suck in the future. It's a far-fetched dream, but I'm hoping Scrimba will just be absorbed by the documentation people.
I mean, we share that dream with you, so that's one of our goals. And what are we thinking about, like contacting people who write documentation for big libraries and just giving them embedded Scrimbas on their documentation or stuff like that.
Now, is that something that currently works? You can embed your Scrimba. Is that a possibility?
We haven't. I mean, it's not hard to make it work. The technical. I mean, you haven't done that yet, but it's just a matter of when that's needed, and we'll probably implement that because that's needed. I mean, that's both for like JavaScript libraries, and also we're thinking about using it for example, API documentation, so that companies who have APIs and want to onboard developers in a quick and easy way can like just embed, maybe even a white labeled Scrimba.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more on like a blogging platform. So you see all these blogs all the time with tutorials, and some people prefer blogs over videos and vice versa. But I always think that you should have both in one, right? So Scrimba would be an excellent thing to have, where you could embed the Scrimba with your coding blog, and then you have, you basically have both at the same time. That's kind of where I was going with it.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting direction as well. When we open up for embedding, that will very likely work as well.
Nice. It's something I've thought about recently, because I was kind of thinking about our conversation we're gonna have after this, and also I've been thinking about starting a blog as well. So that's kind of where I was like, man, that'd be great if I could embed these videos and Scrimba, all that sort of stuff.
So yeah, so you wanna, where would you start? Would it be like a WordPress thing you start?
A WordPress? No. I don't know. I don't think I would start with WordPress. A lot of people would. I would probably just add a blog section on my channel and then use it as like a project. Maybe I'll do, I think it uses PHP in my admin with GoDaddy. I would just set something up where I'd create it and upload it.
Yeah, cool.
So I see on here you have excuse me if I mispronounce this, but Zenita, if I'm saying that right?
Zenita.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that was when I was fresh out of the coding bootcamp. I started there a couple of months or a few months after I quit, or was after I graduated from Founders and Coders. And Zenita is also, it's a startup, but a really fast-growing startup here in Norway. And it's pretty awesome. They do like, they crowdsource sea freight pricing information, so that if you produce sofas and you ship them from China to Europe, for example, you actually don't know, or you have very little insight into what you should pay for a container from Shanghai to Rotterdam. But with Zenita, you can get full access to what the market is paying, and you can check how well you're performing against the market. So it's a really big, very old-fashioned industry, which they are disrupting by doing this. And I was a part of building like the front end of that, like with the graphs and the panels that the customers see.
Nice. Now, that looks like maybe your first front end job. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, that's correct.
So how did when you just got out of the boot camp, obviously I'm sure you're looking to start working and get some experience on the resume and stuff like that. How did you look for a job, and how did you finally get your job?
So I was a little bit lucky in terms of knowing some of the guys at Zenita. From before I joined for Founders and Coders, so I met up with one of the CTO there, and just asked if they needed people who knew, or I actually knew that they needed React developers. They were looking for that. So I just said to them, hey, you still need React developers? And he was like, yeah. And then I went to a couple of interviews, and yeah. But I also applied for a couple of jobs. Just found online, just applied, and with less degree of success, I would say.
Yeah, networking is, it's always sucks because I feel like people want like a hard proven rule. This is how it does, but networking really is great. But a lot of times when you're trying to get into the industry, or any industry for that matter, if you don't know anybody, it's very hard to get a job.
It is, yeah. So, I mean, but when you know somebody, you trust them, and you know they're a good guy. So it makes sense that actually that networking helps.
Yeah,
that's an important thing.
Which is also why it's important to start going to like meetups and things like that, and hackathons where you can meet people and kind of network that way. I've met so many people at hackathons and meetups that have helped me maybe in my career, and so sometimes people don't take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean that's where I actually accidentally bumped into the CTO of Soneta at that time, because I was at a tech meetup, so that helps. I've written a lot about learning how to code on Medium, and yeah, just that's one thing I care.
Do you have a profile?
Yeah,
link people can go to.
Let me just find that. So should I paste it in the chat, or?
Yeah, you can paste it in the chat and say it so that people watching the video know what it is.
Yeah, so it's medium/@Per Borgen. So there I've been writing a lot about how I kind of this journey from being non-technical to becoming technical, and because I felt that before I did this path of transition, I had so many questions in terms of like what do you have to do, how much time do you have to spend, what do you need to learn, how hard is it to work on like a professional project, and all these questions which I felt was partly unanswered, and resources I could find. And so I started just writing about my experience, and yeah, just to share that.
Which is great, because I think everyone's journey is a little bit different. I've talked about my own before on here, and it's great to hear, because some people it's like, well, you have to do this. It's like, no, it's good if you do this, or this. There's a lot of different ways of going about it. You know, there are the people in the camp that like, you can't be a developer unless you have a computer science degree, and you know, like 9 out of 10 developers don't have a computer science degree. It's not super common. So I don't know where this gets started, but
the market needs more people than the universities can produce, so it has to be some alternatives out there.
Yeah, my one of my bosses was talking about hiring interns, and I said, hey, we should go talk to, and this is kind of our big boss, but he's really in charge of sales and things like that and managing us. But he's like, we should go hire at the at the state colleges or nearby and go find interns. I said, go to the boot camp across the street, because they'll actually be learning the stuff we're working with. And it's just, I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
I've gotten quite a few on these articles, people who are on exactly that dilemma, like should boot camp versus university. And I think it's obviously different things you learn from one or the other. But I mean, if university isn't an or it's not a possibility for you, you just have to work really hard on the core computer science concepts, and you'll get a job working alongside the guys who went to university. That's 100% possible.
Yeah. Let's see. What's Gus here asks, how big is the developer industry in Norway? Is there a huge support network, meaning that people want you to learn? How many resources available? It's a long question. Basically, how is the developer community in Norway, and kind of the job prospects there for the industry?
So job prospects, you're thinking from the developer's point of view, how many jobs are there?
Yeah, from the developer's point of view.
Yeah, so I can start with that. It's a huge lack of front-end developers, at least. I'm not that into the other backend, but it's a huge lack of developers overall, but especially these days in front end, it's really hard to find people. So because there are no boot camps here. Most people go through the traditional way of university, but there's a lot of businesses here, and the economy is doing well, so there's a huge need for technical skills. Whereas the community itself, I'm not that like into the community itself of just developers, more like into the startup community, which is growing a lot. Has been growing a lot the last few years.
Nice. All right, this is kind of a interesting question. I like this question, and I'm a little confused by it at the same time. I'll give my answer after I hear yours.
Okay.
But Artha Java says, I'm a software engineer from XYZ company for almost a year, but I don't have any technical knowledge to call myself a good developer. Any advice? So they're a working developer for last year, but they're not confident in their skills.
So I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm a good developer either. I mean, I think I learn things fast, so I use that to my advantage. But I certainly have tons of holes in my knowledge. So is the question, what does he need to, I guess, call himself a good developer? Or?
I guess so. See, this is my take on it, is that sometimes there's that that sort of I don't belong feeling. I think that's what this person is going through.
Yeah.
And kind of where you're there, you're around a bunch of senior developers that just look like there's God's gift to coding, and you don't really feel like you're learning that much. And my advice is to kind of not worry about, there's people who watch my channel that think I'm like the godliest coder that has ever been because they're just getting started. I've only been a developer for 3 months. Like, there's no way I'm that good or that whatever. But the thing is, sometimes you just have to be realistic about what your skill set is, especially 1 year into the business. Imposter syndrome is what it's called. I guess. And my thing is, what you always need to be doing is continuing to improve. So like when I started my job 3 months ago, I had a very limited knowledge of Angular. Now I'm very confident with it. I'm much better. And I never touched PHP, and it's been a long time since I touched MySQL. So in 3 months, I've touched PHP, MySQL, I've touched D3, all these sort of things that I'm continuing to learn. So a year later, you should be a better developer than you were a year ago, as long as you're continuing to strive and improve. And I think if you were doing that a year at any company, you'd feel much more confident.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And I think you should, as you said, don't worry too much about the other guys. And they, even though they are a senior and probably know a whole lot more than you, they have holes as well, though, like in their knowledge, though you don't notice that or see that too much. But you think always about your own lacking skills, But one advice, at least if you're a junior developer, which I found out quickly, was that I had to be honest about it when I didn't know anything, or when I had questions at Soneta. Like, just ask, and people prefer that you ask and get the appropriate feedback than just wandering around in the dark, because nobody wants that, neither you or your company or your colleagues.
What did you learn at your boot camp versus what did you learn on the job at your first job?
As coders, I learned JavaScript, and of course some HTML and CSS, but I knew a little bit of that, or I have done that for quite a while when I started, and also React, and also just it and teamwork and stuff like that. So like the basic, the foundation. Whereas when I joined Founders and Coders, what I really learned was how to work in a big organization and on a big code base. And that I remember, that scared the shit out of me when I started, because I didn't know if I was smart enough to like understand a professional code base, like that huge monster. But it turns out that when you look at it from the outside and see like huge, big professional projects, huge code bases, it looks a lot harder than when you get into the nitty-gritty details and start understanding one concept after the other and seeing that, okay, so it's a big monster, but each of the parts can be understood. So at Saneta, I kind of gained that confidence that I could be able to contribute in professional projects. And of course, I learned a whole lot about React, which I didn't know, of course.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we end the interview here?
I don't know. I feel I've been talking a lot.
That's good, man.
But it's been really fun.
Yeah, that's the point of these things, so that's good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you're interested in coding bootcamp, check out devmountain.com, where housing is included in your price of tuition. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.